Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm S.A. Baz Collins and my co host.
Vance Bastion.
And today we're doing a rather fun episode in that we are looking at The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And while this series has been out for 3 seasons, we decided to dive into this one because I finally got Vance and his husband to watch the series. Now, I'm a big Amy Sherman-Palladino and Daniel Palladino fan, and if you don't know who they are, they're a husband and wife, superpower couple. They do writing, directing, producing. They actually got their big break when they did the Gilmore Girls back in the early aughts, or late 90s to early aughts. And then they did the Year in the Life, which was kind of the wrap up of the whole show. It is their writing is really lightning fast. In fact, Rachel Brosnahan, who is the lead who plays Midge Maisel, she actually had no comic experience whatsoever, and she wasn't really sure if she could pull this off. Excuse me. And so one of the things that she said that got her over that hump was that Amy showed her that if you just say it fast, if you keep it really snappy, if you faster, 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 she said that was the word she kept hearing in season 1 over and over. And it's that manic, speeding locomotive train pace and the quips flying left and right. And it's kind of like if you ever watched a Woody Allen movie where they have everybody's cross-talking on different topics or are holding a thought from 3 sentences ago that finally bring forward again. It's one of those scenarios, but it's on massive steroids. That is the Palladino type of writing and type of characters. And especially I think in this time, and you can chime in here right after, but I think especially in this time with all the anti-Semitism that we're starting to see, I think a show like this is so vastly important. And it has hit with people from all ages. Young people love this show, millennials love this show, Gen Xers, boomers. It's got something for everybody. It's just a beautifully written, expertly cast show. They've not hit a bad note yet that I've seen. What did you think of the first 3 seasons, just as a general rundown?
Loved it.
And we're done. See you next week. No.
No, you're absolutely right on all points. And it is charming and engaging and intelligent, and it keeps you moving, and they aren't afraid of motion, which is, I haven't seen done well since West Wing.
Yeah, it has that vibe too. Yeah, it's just, and it was even in like the early ER. I didn't watch ER past the first couple of seasons, but it has that manic pace of you're just on a bullet train, and you got to keep up. You got to keep up. The quips fly very fast. There are conversations going on that don't necessarily pair up, but you're getting the whole conversations between multiple characters going in different directions, and you just got to stay with the ride. But once you get into the groove of it, it's a lot of fun, especially as writers like Vance and I are. It really has that almost, you can't absorb it fast enough. You know what I mean? Right. And that's the thing I think is the most amazing thing. That and the fact that the woman who plays Rachel's mother, I think she's only like 5 years older. Yeah. Which I think is hysterical because she pulls it off. Amazing. And this cast has won multiple Emmys. The show is very well recognized. But one of the reasons why we wanted to do it and why it's part of our review cycle is because season 4 is about to drop on February 18th, Tuesday, February 18th on Amazon. Amazon releases this show once a week, so it'll be every Tuesday for the next, I think it's 10 episodes that they're doing. And they're about 45 minutes to 50 minutes long. But Luke Kirby, who plays probably one of the most brilliant impersonations of Lenny Bruce. I've watched like the real Lenny Bruce, and then I've watched Luke do it. And Luke, if you'll remember, was part of our Mambo Italiano, which is another review we have coming up. I haven't released it yet, but it's another one coming up. So keep an eye out for that when it drops. Luke is quite the actor with a really good CV. He really has a grasp of character when he really goes for it. And some of the moves and some of the motions, but it doesn't look like, oh, I'm Luke Kirby pretending to be, Lenny.
No, he embodies it.
Yeah, he is Lenny. You believe it. And he plays it with such pathos and with such depth that if you're not a Lenny Bruce fan before, you will definitely be curious about that man's career after you watch this, because it's pretty amazing. And I think, if memory serves, I read somewhere that this is the season where Lenny dies, because they're coming up to 1965, which is when he died. And I think it's supposed to hit Midge really hard in this season. So it's one of the... Go ahead.
The reason he's such an integral character, if you haven't seen it, is because he's the one who helps her get her start.
Yes. And he keeps helping her get
He
her
does keep
start.
helping her. Every time she stumbles, he's there to help pick her up.
Because Midge knows how to take the rug out from underneath herself.
Epically.
But one of the other things we love about it is this is what the Palladinos got dinged for in Gilmore Girls. There was no queer representation in Gilmore Girls. Actually, there was. There was a character, Michelle, who worked at the Dragonfly Inn, which is the inn that Lorelai Gilmore, played by Lauren Graham. She ran that B&B, and he was her assistant, and he plays it very gay, just, over the top, just so shady queen kind of thing. But they never, ever said it. They never confirmed it. And it wasn't until they did The Year in the Life where Michelle actually says he has a husband, and all of that gets resolved. So the Palladinos took that note, and they made sure in Mrs. Maisel there was some representation. And Susie's probably the most ambiguous, because and that's played by the brilliant Alex Borstein, who has won, I don't know if it's just one Emmy, she may have won two, but I know she's won an Emmy for her portrayal of Susie Meyerson. And I have to say, she's probably one of the most colorful characters ever put on to video. I mean, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I was thinking about her character and what we were going to talk about today, and I realized Susie might just be a non-binary,
that was my take too.
Asexual character in an era where those words didn't exist.
Yes, I know. That's exactly. You hit that one on the head, because I totally think that too. I first kept saying, "Oh, she's a lesbian. Oh, she's a lesbian."
No,
then
she's not.
The longer you go into it, you go, "No, I'm wrong about this," And I think and even Alex commented on that when they asked her, "Is she a lesbian?" She goes, "I'm not necessarily playing her that way," And but she didn't allude to what she was doing.
Right.
She wanted it to be open-ended. But I think you're right. I think in many respects, and the reason why I think Alex doesn't define it may very well be that her perception is they didn't have a vocabulary for it.
Right.
And that's just who she is. And what an amazing, if that was planned, oh my God, that was just the most brilliant idea the Palladinos ever had. Because it's just... It hits you square in the face every single episode Susie's in, especially the one in season...
That's just it. It doesn't. It's there, but you are you are so wrapped up in her demeanor and attitude that you forget that she doesn't have...
And you cheer for her.
And you cheer for her, but you forget she doesn't have gender traits or an attraction to anyone.
Yes.
Like, at all. Just not there.
90% of the time when people get a little... she's like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and she just doesn't acknowledge that conversation from anyone.
One of my favorites is when she's dating, when Midge is dating the doctor, and she says, give her a kiss. And he goes, mwah, and she said, come on, lay one on her. And then they do, and she's like, oh, okay.
Yep.
I mean, Susie Meyerson is just, her and Midge are the perfect, straight man and foil.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that just, she's the comedian on stage, but I think with Susie, she's the straight man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Susie gets her comedic rise, in that, because she's just, and the first 3 seasons. So the first season, basically, the premise of the show is that you meet Midge Maisel, and she is the housewife extraordinaire. She is the perfect Jewish wife. You open with their
New York
wedding.
Jew.
Yeah, New York Jew. You open with their wedding to her marriage to Joel Maisel, which is where the Mrs. Maisel comes from. And then through the course of that first episode, where everything is perfect, she even has a book. She's been measuring her body measurements for 10 years. And you can see that she says nothing's changed. And even her best friend, Imogene, who's writing down the measurements, said, "Oh my God, this is, you haven't changed at all, even after having 2 kids. And so that's the kind of perfect wife Midge is. And her husband, who's a big time exec in a plastics firm or a conglomerate, he decides he wants to dabble in doing comedy.
Some stand-up,
and so she does,
Some stand-up, yeah.
Yeah. And so she does what she can to support her husband. So she brings a little notebook and she makes notes of what jokes worked and what jokes don't work. And so she's
And
really
when they need to get him into a venue, she makes a meatloaf for the owners.
Yes, yeah, brisket.
Not a brisket. Thank you.
A brisket. It's got to be a brisket. So she makes a brisket in a Cornell dish. I mean, it's very 50s. So when it opens, it's 1956 or 57, and so she goes through the whole thing of supporting her husband. You see her giving every ounce. You see that she doesn't even let her husband know that she doesn't, wash all her makeup off at night. She goes through this routine, and then you watch it episodes later, and her mother does the same thing, So you see this, constant, perfection that Midge is driven to from her mother, So it's got the whole Jewish guilt thing going on. It's epic. And Tony Shalhoub as her father, another one of the most brilliant performances ever. I watch it with my husband, and I just look at him because he comes from academia like that, and I just look at him and go, But so at the end of the very first episode, she finds out after her husband bombs at the comedy club, he then leaves her and says he's having an affair, and her life goes to shit. She goes to her parents for support. They blame her. And so it just spirals into this huge death spiral of all the perfection she has created. And she goes back to the comedy club because she wants to relive the last moments so she can try and work it out. Why did it happen? Why did this go on? And I had no idea. And she goes there in a drunken state, and she gets on stage, and that's when the genius is born. And it's a wonderful premise.
And Susie is managing the club, but sees the spark.
Yes.
And that's how the friendship starts.
Well, I think in the beginning it was Baz who was managing, which I think is funny that.
But Susie was there.
Susie was there, but she just worked the bar.
Okay.
And then eventually they put her on the till because she would work with Baz to schedule the guests.
Got it.
In the order and stuff. But she didn't actually get to that point. And in fact, I think she only has that for 1 or 2 episodes, and then she gets bumped down, and they bring, I forget the other guy's name. Anyways, I'll put it up here once I figure it out. I'll put it here in the video. And they bring him in, and he begins to schedule everybody, and Susie's kind of relegated back, which is fine because she decides to go to Midge and try to develop her talent and say, hey, I can get you gigs. Hey, I can do this for you. So Susie, who lives a very, very cloistered life, she doesn't go out, and she has no social life. She barely has any friends. And Midge, she sees the genius of Midge, and she just really can't let this one go. She knows, as she tells Midge, I've been in this business for 15 years. I've seen them all come in here, and maybe 1, maybe 2 have said, I looked at them and said, that one's got it. And she said, I saw the first one, blah, blah, blah. And she gives a name. I forget what name it was. And then she says, and the second one was you. And Midge just goes, are you effing kidding me? She goes, that wasn't a bit. My life is fine. She goes, I know, we'll use that, So that's the whole premise of where this begins and where it goes. The queer coding in it, is there's definitely, and God, I love that you brought that up. That Susie has this non-binary thing in the 50s,
Hmm.
and they never label it. And then you get to season three, or season two, going over into season three. It spills into season three. Is
It's
Shy
the bulk.
Baldwin?
It's the bulk of season 3.
Yeah, it's mainly the driving force in season three, but season towards the end of season two is when it starts to
Oh yeah,
happen.
that's when she gets hired. But
Yeah. And Shy Baldwin is loosely based on Johnny Mathis's story.
we
And
got
for
to be
those who
really
don't know,
careful there.
yeah, he actually got a little bit grumbly when those associations started to get made. He is a gay man. He has finally acknowledged it, but I think it got a little too close to the bone in some respects, and I think that's where some of the angst came from. He was never approached beforehand. It's just something that showed up, and everybody went, "I know who this is." Because you have Lenny Bruce. Now, I think if they had had some other comic that
Hmm.
wasn't Lenny Bruce, then people could have written it off to a, oh, well, maybe it could be, and they would have written it off. But I
Sure.
think the presence of Lenny Bruce is what brought on the comparison of Shy Baldwin to Johnny Mathis. And I
Right.
think that's where you get that element, So,
So where this conversation should be started is Shy Baldwin sees Midge perform and wants to hire her to do an opener for his music act. And it's one of the traveling perform for the soldiers, then travel around, hit Vegas kind of traveling acts of the 50s.
mhm,
And so she's the opening. She's the one who gets the audience excited and warmed up and laughing.
right. And during that, she also has a run in with Jane Lynch, who plays a kind of a Fanny Bryce kind of character.
Hmm.
And for those of you who don't know Fanny Bryce, you can go watch Funny Girl, which is with Barbara Streisand. It's how Barbara Streisand started her career, the same Jewish influence kind of thing. But Sophie Lennon is this made up character persona, and Jane Lynch plays her brilliantly. Her household staff are hysterical, and everybody leaves with a fur coat. Everybody. She's worn it twice. It's yours now. It's really the show has so many quirks and twists and turns, and you get involved with both. Even though Joel and Midge split, you get involved with both families, so you get
Hmm.
to know the Maisels very as much as you do. And I have to say, Mrs. Maisel, the elder,
Hmm.
she is just a hoot every time she's in, and she pays attention to no one, and she just
She's off doing her
just,
thing and she's just going to do it. You're
and
just
she's
going
just
to roll with
smoking
it.
and just I mean, she has the radio running and she watches the Today Show because of the monkey. I mean, it's wacky. It's so wacky and off kilter, but when you watch it, it all makes sense for some reason. you know? Anyways, so the queer coding in Mrs. Maisel is there. The Palladinos definitely took that note and ran with it, and I'm really wondering what they're going to cook up for the next season, because Midge ends up once again pulling the rug out for. And actually, it's kind of unfair because she was told backstage after watching Mom's Maybelline, realizing she was going on a stage where black royalty had been on. And there's a wonderful documentary. I'll include the link in the description for Mom's Mabley that Whoopi Goldberg
Mm.
did, so you can get an idea of who she was if you don't know. She's famous for the line, where you say, "You always speak good of the dead," and Mom's Mabley said, he's dead, good." So that was the whole thing for Mom's Mabley. She had this really acerbic kind of presence, and she was big in the black circuit. She also started to eke into mainstream in the 60s, so it was kind of timing wise was kind of really good for the show. Anyways, so the thing I want people to understand is that the Palladinos really have listened to their audience. They really kind of know where they want to go with this, but season 4 looks like it is going to be off the rails. So, with that in mind, before we get to our ratings, Vance and I thought we would try something.
Oh,
So, I'm going to play. There are 4 season 4 teasers. So, we're going to play them and react to them. We've not watched them. So, this is going to be new for both of us, and we're going to kind of see you know, which ones fly. But yeah, actually, I might just include all four because they're only a minute long, so they're kind of interesting. But let's give this a go and see if I can do it right. So.
Can we talk business? Of course. So, past is behind us. Shy who? One less what? Fuck him. Moving forward, we need a game plan. Agreed.
Here she is, boys!
You know what's great about me? Your humility?
No, it's when I'm me.
Here she is, world!
No more opening act gigs.
What?
I will only do gigs where I can say what I want. That's what Lenny would do.
That's different. He's Lenny Bruce.
Well, then make me Lenny Bruce. Make me a headliner.
How am I supposed to do that if I can't even book you?
I don't know. You're my manager. Manage me.
That's not how the business works.
Then let's change the business.
Ready or not, here comes Mama.
Okay, so that's that one. Thoughts?
Well, I like the fact that they went back and forth between a well-behaved and a very naughty Midge.
But people can see, you know, that exchange of how you've got this, like, this planning, and they're trying to hunker down and figure it all out. And then they go, fuck it, we just do it our way, you know, which often is what gets them into trouble, you know.
Exactly.
Okay, so here is number 2.
I thought it might be wonderful for you two to move in here with me.
Absolutely not. What?
You either got it.
She has us in the guest room.
So?
So, when you have guests, they'll sleep on top of us?
Oh, you ain't.
We can't tell people our daughter's supporting us.
It would be humiliating.
Well, I got it.
Now, the logical cover story for moving in here is that Abe and I bought the place back for you.
What?
That works for me.
So I did all of this for you, and you want to tell the whole world that you did it for me?
I thought this was just an altruistic thing you were doing for us.
It is.
And we're agreed
On what?
that you're moving in here with us.
It's done.
Good. I'm getting a turn.
Okay, I have to say, just on that sequence alone, one, I've never seen Shirley, not Shirley, what's her
Rose?
mom's name? Huh?
Rose.
Rose, yeah. I've never seen Rose in an outfit twice. She's
That's a
wore
true
that
statement.
green outfit before. I'm like going, wait, girl.
But they're trying to portray the fact that she's poor now. They have to.
Well, I guess that's it. You know, her wardrobe is limited because they're storing it somewhere. I'm taking it, you know. So, yeah. Okay, so that's the second one. So now here's the third.
Joel and his father. Never good.
Yeah.
Joel, I still consider you a family member, and it seems a shame that you're alone.
That was a perfectly good girl I set him up with last week.
Wow, you were quick.
Excuse me, Ma, for not wanting to go out with a pregnant divorced woman.
She's not divorced. Her husband died.
Light the lights.
Can we change the subject?
Shirley, you have a matchmaking professional in the family, after all. Use me.
Please don't give her your card, Rose.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I know her name. I know her number.
Rose, change your name, change your number. Think it's time for you to meet my parents.
Nope.
You can't just run. I know where you live.
No, you don't.
No, I don't. Fuck me.
Play it, boys.
And I have to say, you know, it's wonderful that they've got May in there. I love the Asian part of it because, you know, it's we had the whole black community in Harlem with the, you know, the Apollo Theater, and now we're getting the whole Asian thing because of Joel opening up a club that's in the Asian part of
It's in Chinatown,
New York
yeah.
City. Yeah, in Chinatown. So, okay, so that's the third one. Let's look at the fourth one. Oh, it's Susie. This is going to be epic.
This is the place.
Great.
Big and airy.
Oh, I
it
love
needs a
these guys.
spruce.
Will someone tell me, when is it my turn?
What was it before?
Well, we use it as a kind of house that one could feel safe in.
So it was a safe house.
Something like that.
Don't I get a dream for myself?
There's a giant blood stain on the floor.
Wasn't so safe for that guy. A nice rug will cover that up.
Done. Now it's gonna be my turn.
Get your name on the door. Susie Meyerson and Associates.
Susie Meyerson and Associates.
It's your chance to expand. Start your business.
Live here, work here. Susie Meyerson and Associates. Why do you want to work here?
I'm excited to get in on the ground floor of a growing business.
Okay, that's putting a shit ton of pressure on me.
Everything's coming up roses this time for me.
Yep.
You have to say, I mean, I love the fact that, they didn't hint at, and what's also interesting is that Milo Ventimiglia is going to be on the show this season. He plays a love interest to Midge, which is interesting because he was also in Gilmore Girls, and he played a love interest to Rory, the daughter of Lorelai Gilmore, and so you get that element as well. So it's kind of nice that, because Alex Borstein was in Gilmore Girls, and now we're getting Milo from This Is Us, if people don't know, and I know I butchered his name, and I'm sorry. But we get him in now, so it's kind of cool that they're bringing back some of the actors who have followed the Palladinos. We're getting to see them in fresh new ways. So I'm really looking forward to Milo being, added to the cast. So I think this is going to be an epic season. So can't wait. What are your thoughts for what you're looking for in this next season now that we've watched those 4?
I would like season 4 to not end with an epic fail on Midge's part. Just once. Just once. It's almost predictable at this point.
Yeah, it is.
It's my only complaint about the writing is I know when we get to the final episode, I'm like, oh, she's going to fuck up so majorly, I'm going to want to not watch it.
But, again, we goes to the point of pain is what drives comedy.
That's fine. And you know what? Let's put that in the middle of the season and show some cleanup after the fact. Yeah, I mean...
Well, I think we get a hint of that, don't we, in that one exchange in the diner, in the stage deli?
Maybe. But I'd like to
where
not
she
have
says,
to wait.
she goes, well, I don't know how to do that. She, go ahead.
I'd like to not have to wait a whole season to get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying, every once in a while, it would be nice to have a season that ends on a good note. If you put all the pain in the middle, I'm not saying don't have it. I'm saying don't be predictable yet again and put it at the end.
Maybe have that happen towards the end, and then you start to see her carve her way back up.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know if it's going to work.
That's fine.
Something like that.
That's fine.
But it's a valid point. You bring up a very, very valid point.
Like I said, I hate predictable writing, and at this point, after 3 seasons.
Yeah. Oh, can I say the whole season 2 where they're in the Catskills? Epic. And I love that they brought Zachary Levi into that. I just love that guy. And so he was brilliant in that show. And I kind of was a little sad when he got written out because Midge had her life challenge when she got the job from Shai Baldwin. Mm-hmm. And she decided to break it off with him because I thought they were an amazing couple too.
They were. They worked really well together.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You fall in love with these characters, even the ones that float by, and you just kind of go, oh my God, what happened to that person, kind of thing. So, all right. So let's get to our ratings for seasons 1 through 3. You want to go first?
Sure. 5.
You heard it here first. This is one of the few times when he has done that.
Yep. I think it's the second time I've ever done it. Ever.
Yeah,
in the history
I think
of ever.
Is. I think it is. I don't, this is not an easy give. He held a very high standard to these things. I'm much more liberal with mine. But I will agree with you, a 5. I would like to make one a 5.5, but I'm holding us to the 5. And that's in the screenwriting because I think that to write that kind of dialogue on a continual basis is just brilliant. As a writer, you appreciate how even in those quippish moments where the one-liners are flying back and forth and the shade that's being thrown and it's all out of love. It's not a negative thing. Every bit of that is an element of love, and you can't help but fall in love with these characters. And as I said in the beginning, and in these times when there's a rise in anti-Semitism, I think a show like this is so important, so vastly important. Because it does a lot to say we are more alike than we are different.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So 5s across the board for both of us. Definitely looking forward to season 4, which comes out again February 18th on Tuesday, and 1 episode a week for however many episodes they get. I wish they had more than 10 or 13. I wish they would go like for a full 24, because they could do it. They have the following. Yeah. It's one of the biggest shows on Amazon Prime.
Yep.
Anyways, so that's it for this week. I am S.A. Baz Collins, and my co-host,
I'm Vance Bastian.
And we'll see you all at the movies, and keep making those memories, keep hanging out with your friends and family, and discussing these things. Let us know if there's something you want us to review. Put it down below in the comments, or comment on Mrs. Maisel. What are you looking forward to in season 4 if you're a watcher? If you haven't watched it, let us know what's kept you away from watching it. Maybe we can answer in the comments, and address some of those things. So there's an element there too.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, be kind to one another. Have the courage to be kind. And we'll see you all next week.
Bye, everyone.
Closing time. The bums rush in melody, dear.